close your eyes. Tonight, we'll journey into the heart of the countryside, where the bonds of loyalty are stronger than the passage of time. This is the tale of the Old Sultan, a story about aging, trust, and the true meaning of friendship, even when faced with loss. Let the stillness of this comforting narrative carry you toward deep rest. In a cozy farmhouse, nestled between rolling fields and quiet woods, lived a farmer and his faithful dog, Sultan. For many years, Sultan, a large and noble hound, had been the farmer's most trusted companion, tirelessly protecting the sheep from wolves and thieves. But time, the inevitable companion of all creatures, had begun to slow the great dog. Sultan's once powerful legs grew stiff. His bark became a dry, husky sound, and his sight, though still sharp in his heart, had faded. The farmer watched his old friend with a mix of sadness and practical concern. One evening, sitting by the hearth, the farmer turned to his wife, the weight of a difficult decision heavy on his mind. "Wife," he said in a low, weary voice, "I've thought long and hard about Sultan. He's old now. He can no longer hunt or protect our flock. He's a noble dog, but he has become useless. Tomorrow, I fear, I must have him put down." His wife, though she loved the old dog, agreed with a heavy heart. "He has served us well, husband, but he can no longer earn his keep. It's the hard truth of life on the land." Unbeknownst to them, Old Sultan was lying nearby, curled up behind the warmth of the stove. He heard every word. The news was a cold shock that penetrated his weary bones. He, who had given his entire life to this family, was now to be discarded, his loyal service forgotten. The old dog trembled silently, the betrayal a deeper wound than any wolf's bite. Unable to bear the cold finality of his fate, Sultan crept out of the house into the cool night air. He wandered sadly into the woods, the very place where his courage had once shone brightest. He sat down in a clearing to mourn his impending demise. Suddenly, a fox emerged from the shadows. This was an old acquaintance, a clever creature with whom Sultan had often clashed in his prime. Seeing the dog's profound sorrow, the fox approached. "Good evening, Old Sultan," he said in a sly, measured voice. "Why do you sit here in the lonely darkness, looking so utterly defeated?" Sultan sighed deeply. "Ah, my old enemy, my time has come. My master has deemed me useless. Tomorrow I am to be put down." The fox listened intently, stroking his chin with a paw. He saw not an enemy, but an opportunity. "Listen to me," the fox said. "Do not despair. I have a plan. We have always been adversaries, but tonight we shall become allies. I can save you, but you must promise me your loyalty and follow my instructions." Clinging to any thread of hope, Sultan immediately agreed. "I will do anything. Just tell me how to save my life." The fox then unfolded his brilliant, simple plan. "Tomorrow," he explained, "your master and mistress will go into the fields to make hay. They'll bring their little child with them and place it in the shade of the haystack. That's where we'll make our stand. I'll creep up and snatch the child. When I do, you must burst forth, barking as fiercely as you did in your youth. Chase me away with all the fury you can muster. I'll drop the child safely and flee back into the woods." Sultan listened, a surge of hope and adrenaline revitalizing his old muscles. He understood perfectly. He would perform one last, heroic act of service, false battle, to prove his worth. The next morning, the farmer and his wife went to the fields, laying their small child gently in the shade of the haystack. As they began to work, Sultan watched from his hiding spot, his heart pounding. Suddenly, the fox, quick as a flash of red fire, darted from the tall grass, seized the child, and turned to run. The wife let out a terrible shriek of horror. that was Sultan's moment. A surge of his former strength flooded his limbs. He burst forth with a mighty roar, his bark fierce and loud. He chased the fox with unexpected speed. The fox, playing his part perfectly, dropped the child and vanished into the forest. The farmer and his wife rushed to their child, finding it safe and unharmed. They looked at the old dog, their eyes filled with amazement and sudden, profound shame. "Wife," the farmer said, his voice choked with emotion, "Sultan saved our child. He is still the bravest and most loyal dog in the land. How could I have ever intended to harm him?" They hugged the old dog fiercely, showering him with praise. From that day on, Sultan was treated not merely as a dog, but as an honored member of the family. He received the finest food, and his bed was made softer than ever before. The farmer vowed never again to doubt his friend's loyalty. That evening, the fox came to collect his reward. "Friend Sultan," he said, "your debt is paid. Now, I ask only one thing in return. When you see me venturing towards the henhouse for a chicken or two, you must look the other way. You owe me this." Sultan, though grateful, was bound by a deeper vow his loyalty to his master. He hesitated. "My dear fox, you saved my life, and for that I am eternally grateful. But I am bound by my honor. I cannot allow you to steal from my master." The fox grew angry. "You ungrateful hound! You break your promise to me." He swore revenge and left in a huff. Worried about the fox's cunning, Sultan sought help from a clever, three-legged cat he knew. The cat, seeing a chance for some excitement, readily agreed to help. A few days later, the fox returned, this time bringing a powerful bear with him to act as his backup in a duel. When the fox and bear arrived at the designated clearing, the bear, not being the sharpest tool in the shed, saw the cat hiding behind a bush. The cat, ready for action, was holding its tail straight up in the air. The bear mistook the cat's tail for a soldier's sword being raised. "Fox," the bear whispered in terror, "look, the soldiers, they've come to take us. That one is holding his sword high." The fox, whose own cunning imagination got the better of him, panicked. "Run, bear, run. It's a signal." The terrified bear scrambled up a tall tree, and the fox, not wanting to be left behind, scurried up after him, hiding among the leaves. Sultan and the cat arrived at the clearing to find no one. They waited patiently. After a while, the cat, growing bored, looked up and saw the fox's tail dangling from a high branch. Thinking it was some strange kind of mouse, the cat leaped up and sank its claws deep into the fox's tail. The fox shrieked in pain and panic, certain the soldiers had finally caught him. He tumbled down the tree, followed by the equally terrified bear. The two creatures fled into the deepest part of the forest, swearing they would never again cross paths with the old sultan or his terrifying soldiers. Sultan and the cat returned to the farmhouse, laughing heartily at the absurd misunderstanding. From that day forward, the old sultan was truly free. His place in the home was secure, his loyalty forever proven, and the threat of the cunning fox was gone. Sultan lived out the rest of his days in peace, warmth, and the devoted love of his master and mistress, his service remembered and honored until the very end. The deep power of loyalty and the quiet dignity of a life well served will always ensure a peaceful slumber. Allow the quiet contentment of the old sultan to settle into your spirit. Rest now and surrender completely to a deep, undisturbed sleep. Thanks for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more peaceful tales. Sweet dreams.